Well, you may have heard that I'm only going to allow smart people on my channel. I'm only going to go after the brainiacs. So today I have the brainiac of brainiacs. I've got Brian Wang coming on the channel again to talk about Cybertruck. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
All
Good,
right,
good
good.
gotta be back, Randy.
All right. Well, it's been a while. We haven't had you for a while. And what I love about you, Brian, and the reason that you were, invited to be as part of the book, the Elon Musk mission, and why your contribution is still one of the ones that is singing. I mean, some of the stuff that you said in there is now coming true, especially over at SpaceX.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad it's being well received.
Yes. Okay. So, but what we want to talk about today is you were on a program the other day. I can't remember whose, but anyway. Farzad's, yeah, okay. And you were talking about the Cybertruck. And once again, yeah, I put out a video the other day talking about how great Cybertruck will be as a work truck and how everybody's nuts to think that it's that it's only going to be a lifestyle truck or something that we drive around Beverly Hills in order to show off to our friends. But you capped me. Yours was at another level as usual. You were so far outside the box. Talk to me about some of the uses for the Cybertruck that really nobody's paying attention to.
So one thing is, so we do not have all the specs for the Cybertruck. They have not given. We have some old specs, but we haven't got it. But we know, the dimensions of it, height, width, those things are pretty well set. The beta production unit was shown and the measurements on that. The other thing we know for sure is that Tesla has made the Tesla Semi. And the specifications for that are also pretty clear. There are some people who dispute that, say it wasn't hauling 82,000 pounds total weight, all that kind of stuff. I've measured the height in pixels of the thing and how large the cement barriers were. Unless you were doing complete total fraud where it's like a hollow cement thing barrier, but you're talking about a $500 billion company. It's not like the Nikola startup where they can't make something. They can make something and they can sell it. So all that garbage aside, it clearly moved 82,000 pounds. It did that at highway speeds. And it did that with less than 1,000 kilowatt hours of battery. It probably was in the 900 some range.
Over real mountains.
And over real mountains, up and down real mountains. Right. So you plug that in to Journal of Energy formula, right? So there's a professor who did that, and these formulas, like aerodynamics, cross section, rolling resistance, all these metrics, coefficient of drag. So you pop in these metrics, and then you can see, here's what the semi-truck is doing, right? The 82,000 pounds, the cross section of the vehicle, how tall it is, how wide it is, right? Because it's roughly a standard truck that way, right? And they give you the coefficient of drag. They say with 0.36, right?
Right.
Now you then adjust that and they say, we're going to put this technology, the 1,000-volt drivetrain, the plaid tuned engines for torque and for cruising and all that kind of stuff, and which the engines are light enough to hold in your hands, right? So it's not like, I'm putting in some 1,000 horsepower monster engine that weighs, 4 tons. No, I'm taking these systems that are lightweight and then putting in there, and now put in less batteries, right? So you adjust all that down, and if it's 35 square feet of cross section, because that's one of the major things, how much cross section there is, which is, the truck is so tall, 6 feet some tall, it's 5 feet wide, you get 35 square feet. So that's like, simple, straightforward, right? 35 square feet versus a 8 foot, 10 foot tall truck, semi truck with whatever width. So again, these dimensions scale and it's like guaranteed, right? So if you have the semi capabilities of the engine stuff, then we assume that it has comparable efficiency to move mass as the semi truck did. Again, it's like, this is my assumption on that. The semi truck was about 13% to 27% off of optimal, right? That you can improve optimal by getting better drag coefficients and other stuff, changing the vehicle. But assuming these vehicles have this stuff, then you have 13 to 27%. Why did I say 13 to 27? Because 27% if they were driving at like 52 miles per hour, 27%, and 13% if they were driving at 60 some miles per hour. Because if you're driving slower at the 50 some, then you would automatically have less drag. It's the whole Jimmy Carter drive at 55 thing, right? Where you can get more fuel efficiency. It's just physics, right? So even if I use the 27% number, then the Cybertruck will be able to, with the semi-engine and tech inside, will be able to, with about 200 kilowatt hours or less, maybe 180, maybe 200 kilowatt hours, and this with margin, will be able to move 15,000 pounds. So the weight of the vehicle plus 9,000 pounds. If you're moving lead bricks and then putting inside the cover of the vehicle, you could move all that weight. Or if you're pulling a trailer, one that didn't change your cross section, so it couldn't be tall; it has to be about the same height, right? And then you could go 500 miles empty, 400 miles with this full Class 4 payload, right? So Class 4 payload means that you're not just beating a Ford F-150, which starts, for gasoline goes from, if I have a 23-gallon tank, goes from 460 miles down to 207, 9 miles per gallon, right? Or the Ford Lightning, which goes from, say, just short of 300 miles down to less than 100. And the Ford Lightning is the worst, but, Rivian's not that much better. Model X is not that much better, right? They all go from 300 some miles down to 90 to 120, 130, depending on conditions. So the Tesla Cybertruck premium version would be able to go 400 miles towing heavy mass, right? So that's way better than a Ford F-150 gasoline vehicle. It's, better than one with a large gas tank, 36, a platinum version of it. And you're competing there with the Ford 250, the Ford 350, even the Ford 450. And those vehicles cost $120,000, even $150,000, right? So totally within Tesla's capability to make that vehicle by putting a semi-truck in. If they make it as a more limited run, higher end thing, there is the demand for Class 4, Class 3, Class 2 trucks, right? It would be medium trucks, light and medium trucks, right? There's the demand for that, work trucks. And so then the work guys, guys hauling lumber, doing that kind of stuff, right? They look at these specs because they know I got to move stuff, right? This is my job to move stuff. So they say Lightning's crap. It doesn't haul. I can't buy it. They thought before because they look cool, but they actually run the numbers on it and try and do stuff and say, I can't do stuff with that. So then the work truck thing goes to, I can move stuff, right? There is the modifications of, but if I haul a big shipping container, then I change the cross section thing. Well, yeah, again, physics, whatever, but you have the capability to use it the right way and have this long range. And you're starting from this higher point of 400 miles with 9,000 pounds of payload, right? The 15,000, you're starting at this high point.
Right.
So all the stuff that you're doing, which you were doing anyway, cold weather, this or that. You're taking it down. But that happens with everything. But I'm starting from 400 miles versus I'm starting from 100 miles or 120 miles, right? I'm starting from a Model S range versus I'm starting from a Nissan Leaf range, right? It just,
okay. So, all right. So now I'm a simple man. my science background ended in high school. No, I took science at university, but I as you know, I was a plastics manufacturer. I actually have inventions in chemistry. So, but I'm not a scientist like you. My understanding of the semi was that its incredible range capability came down to the fact that it had one motor to do torque and a different motor to do cruising. Do we know that the Cybertruck is set up that way, and is that what you're depending on to get to these numbers?
Right. I'm assuming the a similar configuration, similar engines, similar drivetrain for a version of the Cybertruck.
Okay.
A heavy duty, I'm hauling stuff Cybertruck. And in the 1-engine, 2-engine versions, I don't know how well that transfers down, right? I expect they will transfer down better than other systems, just because they could have the new hairpin motor, which has 30% more power. There's other tech that they have in their toolbox to do things. But I'm talking about a 3-engine or a 4-engine Cybertruck, where I'm tuning it like the Semi to haul stuff.
Can we think of a reason why since we assume that the first versions that are going to be produced, according to those reports last week, I'm forgetting the fella's name. I wish I had it in front of me.
Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew. It was last name. Yes, I don't remember. Anyway, Matthew's reports were that it will be the first one will be a 3-engine, I believe, and earlier reports said a 4-engine. So I think it makes sense that the very first units that are going to be sold are going to be these higher performance with 3 or 4 engines. So with that assumption, I think probably at the 99% likelihood range, can you think of a reason why they wouldn't use the configuration from the Semi? Is it a lot more expensive to do that? Or wouldn't it be more versatile? Can you think of a good reason not to use that configuration?
If they wanted to, if it's somehow, this is more costly than I think, and I don't know what it is, I don't think it is, but if it were, then they may be trying to hit the 80K, 70, 80K price point for the $7,500 discount, that thing, right? But I think that because they want to come up with the first Halo, because they would be making low volumes anyway. Initially, for this year, they're making low volumes at 5,000 vehicles, right? So the advantage, even if it costs 120K, right, of making this beast vehicle, one is it is a beast, right? It's hauling all this stuff. All the people look at it and go, holy crap, it's a beast. It's hauling 15,000 pounds, blah, 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 right? So, and I'm making small volumes of it. One thing is California, New York, and other places have $60,000 of subsidy for Class 4 trucks. You have to submit it, you have to get certified to do it, but they do have this thing. So you can go to California HVIP, that's the program. It's funded for a few $1 billion, right? So that's enough for a few tens of thousands of these vehicles. It could be, you're drawing from the same bucket, Class 8, Class 4, right? But, and 3, 4, 5, all the way up. So 3 and 2 are less than Class 4. Class 4 is 60K. Class 8 is 120K. So loads of money for each truck, right? So that means if I make 5,000 Class 4 version Cybertrucks, then the buyers in California, New York get 60K, 80K off, right? So instead of 120K, it costs 40K. And so then those initial things just fly out the door. And then the work guys who've gotten them say, these things are hauling like incredible, right? They're just like, it's a beast, right? So then the next guy, the wannabe guy, who wants to go kind of off road, says, I'll buy the 200 version, the one, even though it has a massive drop off in capability, right? But it's just like the Hummer was a kind of a Halo vehicle for other things. You have the big beast, and then they know that visual, just like the Tesla Roadster, the Tesla Model S, that's the hot, fast car. And now I can go buy the Model 3 and Model Y, and I'm still kind of associated with this thing. Right.
Yeah. All right. So now in the conversation with Farzad, there was some question left. Did you have a chance to do any more research on this Class 4 concept? Whether do you have any more conviction that it'll work in California, work in New York to get the Class 4 classifications?
Oh no, I know it'll work in California and New York. So, but the question was, I thought initially it might work for the Inflation Reduction Act.
Oh, okay.
But based on my reading of that, it does not. I think in the thing, because it says that you have to have over 14,000 pounds
Okay.
right? So basically, you'd be making a class 7 vehicle. Like you wouldn't want such a, because they normally you were in the 5,000 to 7,000 pound range, maybe 8,000 pounds. You're not going to go to 14,000 pounds because that would be, a super duper big vehicle, which would be very nichey. It would be like you're making a class 7 vehicle at that point.
Right. So one of the big arguments that I made in my video the other day is that work trucks, you're talking about somebody who's, the owner is making the decision. The owner is interested in profit. He's interested in capability. Obviously, it's got to do the job. It's got to do the work, whatever the work is. But then if I have this product over here that'll do the work, and I've got this product over here that'll do the work, and this one will do it for 70% of what this one will do it for, it's a no-brainer. So when it comes to this owner making a decision, based on what you've seen so far, is there any reason to believe that there isn't going to be the same kind of massive savings for the typical work truck for the Cybertruck that you saw with the semi, this same drop off to make it an almost like, why wouldn't I situation?
If you're doing it for work and you're saving, the equivalent of getting $1.50 gas, right? Like about $1.70 gas, because basically that's the electricity cost. Is that it's about corresponds to $1.50, $1.70. So if I'm paying it $5, right? So then the more my use case uses a lot of fuel, right? Would have been a lot of diesel or gasoline,
right?
And if I'm in a state or something like that where it's higher priced, right? $5.50, maybe less than $50. So that is the clear economic difference on that. So for the niches use cases where you're driving 40,000 miles, 50,000 miles, 35,000 miles, then the $3 a gallon savings is, that's how much you're saving. You're saving like $9,000 on 30,000 miles, 12,000. So there are also some other benefits in terms of possibly lower insurance, lower repairs, but the
lower downtime.
Yeah, but the default thing is the most simple rule of thumb would be: am I driving this thing a fair bit, 30,000 miles or more, and then I'm going to save like $9,000, $10,000, right? Plus, there's the tax credit aspect of things, right? Where basically the gas one doesn't get a tax credit, this one would, especially in California, New York. Also, many other provinces and states have that. But then for the initial market of when I'm making the first 50,000, 100,000, you would look at who had the most to gain, who'd want it the most, right? Mm-hmm. So you don't have to solve everything everywhere, first, just like, so. Yeah, so the market is for sure there, well over, 100,000, 200,000, whatever. And the work truck market is big. So once you have this hauling thing, then you're looking at, at least $1 million, $2 million a year from the work truck market.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's certainly coincides with what my thinking was, and that doesn't even count the show-off market. That doesn't count the Baja market, the off-road market, the off-road wannabe market.
So one of the key slides from the last Investor Day was when they showed here's the distribution of the total market for these vehicles, right? So they had 1.4 billion vehicles, 700 million would be the Model 2-ish vehicle, right? The small one. And then there was 300 million for the Model 3Y one. It was 300 million for Cybertruck and presumably Cybervan or SUV, right? The covered vehicle, right? So they're saying, and when I work into the US numbers, I get to comparable numbers, right? That the total, like replacing the entire fleet, which is, our entire fleet of vehicles is 2 billion, heading to 2 billion, over 1.6, 1.7, heading to 2 billion. So our 70, 80 million sales every year of cars and trucks is 80 million, but we're taking 20 years to replace the total amount of vehicles out there, right? If Tesla is right, and they have all these people work on it to get the right number, and they say 300 million for Cybertruck, Cybervan, and all competitors making their trucks and vans, right? Electric, 300 million. So that rule of thumb, 20%, 20 years, 5% every year to do that. When we get to steady state replacement, right? So that means 15 million
per year.
15 per year. Cybertruck, Cybervan, right? And if Tesla has a advantage for hauling, which is, engines, battery, drivetrain, motors, engines, drivetrain, whatever. That means that they could dominate that market completely, right? Where they get 70, 80% of that market or more because they make the best hauling trucks, right? Everyone else is hauling at 100 miles, they're hauling at 400, right? And then they could utterly dominate the large vehicle segment, right? It plays more to their technology manufacturing strengths, right? So that means, and whatever scaling to 2030, it's going to keep going, right? So 2035, it takes to get to this point where it's 100% EV and electric trucks and electric SUVs, and Tesla is making the right motors, the right system for 400, 500-mile range, right? So then just like they dominate the U.S. market, and mostly the pickup truck market is the U.S. market, right? Large SUV is mostly U.S. market, right? It's, of the 15 million vehicles the U.S. sells, about 10 million are the biggest vehicles, right? So Tesla could get 10 million, 12 million per year from that, right? And those vehicles are 3 to 4 times more expensive than the Model 2, right? So then the 15 million of that is equivalent to selling 60 million of the small car, profit-wise, revenue-wise, et cetera. So for me, people debating the, 20 million, 2030, it's like the truck domination thing. And when you dominate trucks, and Tesla would dominate the Megapack charging for the trucks, semi and Cybertruck. So that both things go hand in hand. I view that as 5 times bigger than all passenger car segments. So if I have trucks, I'm doubling up, and then I get another 2x from the fixed storage. Overall, 5 times bigger. And this is before you make robo trucks. Because if I'm taking out 20% of the cost by going electric, I can take out another 50 to 70% of the truck by making a robo truck version, a robo Cybertruck, a robo semi truck, where I take out the driver and I'm transforming the supply chain.
So I'm going to take a chance that I'm going outside your area of expertise here. How big of a moat do you think that the motor is at this point?
So it took Freightliner 5 years to, they're backed by the Daimler. Took them 5 years to make the e-Cascadia, right? And the e-Cascadia has like 150 miles of range, maybe 200 miles of range or something like that other thing. You can pop in more batteries, but it's still, 34% less efficient. Mercedes said that Tesla making the semi at the specs was impossible. So then they did it, and now they have to do the impossible too. So I view that as it will take them at least 6 years, 7 years to get to within 80% of what Tesla has now, right?
So this would assume that they buy one, or Sandy buys one, they reverse engineer it, they take a look at what's being done. It would still take half a decade or more before they would be able to get to 80%. And by then, Tesla has moved on to their next generation. Part 2.
And that's the technology portion, right? The other thing is they have to catch up on battery and factory scale. Tesla last year did 100 gigawatt hours, over 100 gigawatt battery product. And they have the factories to do it. This new 50,000 semi-trucks by next year is they're taking the Nevada factory, using that 40 gigawatt hours of battery from Panasonic, and then also using the Lathrop factory. So they have these factories already built. So where is the 40 gigawatt hour truck making factory from Freightliner.
Yeah.
Where is that from BMW? They don't have it, right? They're down at the 5 gigawatt, like Nikola. They have a 330 mile, 780 kilowatt hour truck, right? Mm-hmm. Electric truck. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's nice. Range is within 60%, 70% of Tesla. They're close on the heels, blah, blah, blah. They made and sold 100.
Yeah, right.
Right. And they're losing money. So their margin is negative 200% on that. Right. And they're going to run out of cash in the next 6 to 12 months. Right. So it's a question of how long did it take them to scale up to 100 gigawatt hours of battery? Right.
Much less.
Right. If they get to 100 gigawatt hours of battery, purely making semi trucks. Right.
Yes.
They can make 1 million semi trucks.
Right.
Right. Sorry. They would be able to make 100,000 semi truck, 100,000 semi trucks. Yeah. Because it would be 100 gigawatt hours would make you 1 million.
Oh, yes.
You need a terawatt hour to make 1 million of them. Right. So if Tesla scales to 2 terawatt hours, then they can make 1 million semi trucks. They can make 500,000 or 2 million. You have to have the terawatt hours of scale in order to make that stuff.
Right.
And so you have to pass through 100 gigawatt hours, 200 gigawatt hours, 400 gigawatt hours, right? So you have to catch up on tech, 5 to 7 years, if you're lucky, maybe 10 years or more. And then you have to have the demand. Like Tesla would be the Ford F-150 of whatever, because they're selling all these vehicles. Why would you say, and I want to give that guy who just took 8 years to make a almost as good truck, just like I'm making my Model 3 2017 competitor now, right? And so that then you have your Chevy Bolt, right? And so they sell 50,000. So they still sell them, but it's a small volumes because they're a follower, right? So you got to
catch on the tech, and they got to catch on the batteries as well. And of course, by that time, you've also established the brand, you've established the capability, you've created an allure. The halo effect, all the things that you talked about. Well, Brian, that is, as usual, extremely valuable, I think, for the folks. If you thought that was valuable, of course, you want to like and subscribe. And we're going to have Brian back on for some more conversations of some similar kinds of categories where, Brian is just one of the smart guys and a lot smarter than this guy. Brian, thanks a lot for being on.
Thanks, Randy.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.